It's a new dawn, a new day, a new life in TNA. Hulk Hogan makes his long-awaited debut, but are the TNA fans and the roster feeling good? So a couple of things to mention before I go into the opening episode. First, I've decided to make Sting one of my locker room leaders. I should have done this in the introduction, to be honest, because I didn't realise how Sting would be perfect for the role. I mean, after all, his respect is high, and nobody has a bad thing to say about him. So I've appointed Sting as one of the locker room leaders. Just looking at the backstage morale too, morale is excellent, that's great stuff. That will hopefully mean more, if not all, good things happening behind the scenes, so we can get off to a strong first episode. Right, so getting ready to start the first episode. I had the option to give wrestlers a night off. I'm not going to do that on the first episode. I want to see everyone available, who I'm going to be using exactly, and if I'm making most of the roster. Select tonight's venue and location. I'm going to do this in the impact zone for tonight's show. Going forward, I'm still not sure whether to remain in the impact zone and stay in the southeast area, which has the best popularity for TNA, which therefore means more fans coming to shows and more tickets being sold, which means more money. Or if I stay in the southeast area, which has the best popularity for TNA, so I'm essentially booking shows that have the bigger area arenas that can hold my popularity compared to the impact zone, which doesn't hold as many fans that I'm capable of holding within the southeast. So there's always the option that I could do that, or I might decide to actually tour the country of America. So I could go into different places which have certainly not as much popularity in other regions compared to the southeast, and this will mean that less fans are therefore watching the show, but therefore not as much money will be coming in, and show results won't be as good as they would be in the southeast. There is a positive in actually doing touring, in the sense that because the wrestlers' popularity in other areas other than southeast aren't as good, what I could do is be cunning, hire superstars on one-night only deals with better popularities in other regions and have them lose to my less popular TNA stars. So that would therefore elevate my TNA stars. They go up in popularity, and therefore their popularity would also go up in the southeast because I'm doing this in a TV show. Now, and as a result, I could do this, build towards a pay-per-view in the southeast, and come away with a really strong show result. But there's just always the risk of I need to make sure that whatever show result I'm getting, it's better than what is in my current home region of southeast at the moment, which I think is 62. So if I'm doing a show elsewhere, it's going to be harder. So I think for the time being, I'm going to stay in the southeast because when I played this save in the past on TEW 2020, finances have been a cause for concern. Mostly because obviously there are a lot of contracts that people are on exclusive written, and obviously we've got the likes of Hogan and Bischoff in there as well. So this is going to be a bit of a tough situation. What I really need to be doing ideally is trying to get better scores in shows that are better than southeast popularity. Each point I get will therefore mean more fans coming in to watch in that region, more tickets being sold, therefore more money being made, and I need to get that to the point where I'm not worrying about finances too much. But we'll wait and see how it goes. After all, this is a demo, it's only got up to the end of March, but I am thinking long term, just in case this save does actually go better than I think and you are enjoying it as much as I do maybe. Foreshadowing, hopefully, we'll wait and see. Booking team meeting, as it's just myself and Scott Demore at the moment, our combined creative energy, and minus the 3-hour-long episode of Impact's creative energy, means that I can't look into any creative ideas for this particular episode, which is fine. It'll be interesting to see how this show does anyway without any creative ideas. I know they don't always work. They can help giving on their success rate and who they're involved with. But I'll be interested to see what it's like me booking a show in TW9 for the first time. And I'll be interested to see, what I get as a result. Locker room incidents, let the fun begin. Right, oh, good God. Brian Knobbs has turned up and requested he be allowed to hang backstage. Brian Knobbs, one of Hogan's friends. You couldn't write it, could you? Wants to hang out with Hogan, fancy that. Well, he is friendly with Hogan, and he doesn't have any bad relationships with anyone else. He's only wanted to hang out. He's not wanted to wrestle. Thank God. He doesn't have a negative personality, at least not in this game. And to be honest, I suppose even if he did want to wrestle, I suppose they could always book him. But I'd probably have him lose to somebody whose popularity isn't as good. So it's not necessarily a bad thing after all. But sure, Brian, come on in. Kurt Angle has taken Jay Lethal on as protege. That's great stuff. I'd like to do something with Jay Lethal eventually. I know he did the infamous angle with impersonating Ric Flair, which was around about May, June time of 2010, if I remember rightly, which is really, really good. And Lethal will go on to get a victory against the Nature Boy in this time period. But after that, I never really felt like TNA knew what to do with him after that. TNA's loss when Lethal would leave in 2011 was Ring of Honor's gain. That won't be the case here, all being well. The news that Magnus and ODB are now dating has provoked some light-hearted ribbing backstage. Magnus and ODB getting it on? Fair enough. That might not be an idea to actually do an angle between them two down the line, seeing as Magnus is a snobby British man in this, and ODB is... ODB is the complete opposite of a snobby British man, so... You know what to say about relationships, opposites do attract. Bam! Hector Guerrero was in fine form before the show, keeping everyone in a great mood with his hilarious road stories. It created a relaxed and happy atmosphere. That's great, Hector. Isn't it weird how much Hector looks like Eddie Guerrero? And I don't know if you've actually seen some of Hector's mannerisms, if you've been watching TNA, just how closely they resemble Eddie. It's uncanny. But anyway, that's great, Hector. Next, several people have remarked how Taz has been hanging out with Rob Terry recently, and that he's starting to have an influence. Taz is professional, and Rob Terry has the stalwart personality. Yep, that's good. Head women's trainer Christopher Daniels ran pre-show training drills to work on basic and safety for 7 students. Good. Head men's trainer Samoa Joe ran pre-show training drills to work on basics and safety for 11 students. Very good. Locker room incidents has been completed. Great. No negative incidents to start with. That's encouraging. Right, on to the next part. Address the locker room. I think I'm going to have a team bonding session with the locker room here. Hopefully that will strengthen the group backstage. So let's have a look. Ooh, look at that. A lot of strengthening going on here. That's great stuff. Team bonding session has strengthened the relationship between D'Angelo Dinero and Hulk Hogan, Dinero and Steiner, Dinero and Bischoff, Dinero and me and Hogan, Hogan and Flair, Hogan and Lashley, me and Hogan, me and Steiner, good stuff. If I scroll down, a lot of strengthening. I don't think there are any tensions between anyone on the roster, apart from the obvious tensions to begin with, but these haven't been exacerbated, at least in this. Good stuff. Right, so pre-show has been completed. Right, on to the pre-show matches before we officially kick off Hogan's debut on Impact. So there are 4 pre-show matches before the episode of Impact is underway. So first, in Knockouts tag team action, Awesome Kong and Alyssa Flash take on Casey Spinelli and Santana Garrett. So in a terrible pre-show match, Awesome Kong and Alyssa Flash defeat Casey Spinelli and Santana Garrett in 5:22 when Awesome Kong pings Casey Spinelli with an implant buster. Crowd at the end expectant / simmering. Wrestling rating of 36, crowd rating of 21, segment rating of 27. Alyssa Flash had an in-ring performance of 47. Awesome Kong had an in-ring performance of 53. Santana Garrett had an in-ring performance of 23, and Casey Spinelli had an in-ring performance of 20. Both Casey Spinelli and Santana Garrett have debuted their fan favourite gimmicks, and both have got an initial rating of poor. Awesome Kong was really off her game. In some ways that's encouraging because if she's really off her game and she's getting an in-ring performance of 53, I dread to think how Awesome Kong will be, how well she'll do when she's on a game. The benefit as well is we'll see a bit more of Awesome Kong because we don't have a certain personality called Bubba the Love Sponge in this particular save. Thank God. Pat Kenny could have done better as road agent as the match wasn't put together well. He's under a written contract. I don't know, maybe I could get rid of him, perhaps, but I'm just going to use him sparingly. He's at least done one action, so he's going to get paid as a result. He can't complain. I can obviously not use Pat Kenny for the rest of the show. The commentary quality lifted the match, and the colour commentary gave the match a boost. So Awesome Kong and Alyssa Flash are heels in this, as you can imagine, because Casey Spinelli and Santana Garrett have debuted as faces. Again, just to use wrestlers that I haven't used in matches, and obviously the more popular ones beating the less popular ones. I'd only really do it the other way around if it was probably more so on a show on a pay-per-view, for instance. Casey Spinelli and Santana Garrett, I've just signed. I think we could have more knockout wrestlers. I'm probably not going to do much with it at the moment. It's just a case of have them on shows, just wrestling as much as possible to get the experience. But yeah, Awesome Kong and Alyssa Flash win in this opening match. Just looking at the other things as well, the TNA iMPACT logo, which looks like it was the logo before Hogan stepped in 2010. I might get around to changing them at some point as well. Again, that's just me being really pedantic and looking at the cosmetic changes as well. I obviously want to make it feel like this is a Hogan era save. So I'll get around to that soon, but that is our first match. The second contest is a singles action in the men's division as Silas Young takes on Byron Wilcott. So in an abysmal pre-show match, Silas Young defeats Byron Wilcott in 6 minutes and 6 seconds by pinfall. Crowd heat at the end, expectant, simmering. I imagine obviously it's going to be this case a lot more so for the pre-show matches. Wrestling rating of 24, crowd rating of 4, oh good god, and a segment rating of 28. Silas Young had an in-ring performance of 31, Byron Wilcott had an in-ring performance of 18. Silas Young has debuted his old school heel gimmick, he's got an initial rating of poor. Silas Young seemed off his game, which means he's capable of better, that's okay. Commentary quality lifted the match, colour commentary gave the match a boost. Byron Wilcott I have signed as a one-night appearance because his popularity to Southeast is slightly better than Silas Young's. Silas Young I have signed to a paper appearance contract, which is ongoing for as long as possible. I like the character of Silas Young in Ring of Honor. It was around about 2013, 2014 where he debuted his The Last Real Man gimmick. In essence, that is the name of what old school heel is. This character is pretty much like traditional elements of masculinity, traditional / toxic, whichever the way you see it. If you ever get a chance, go to YouTube and type Silas Young PSA or Silas Young Public Silas announcements. He's just talking about all the ways how he hated how modern men are today. It's really great old school heel stuff. And I love his character. And more so the feud that he had with Dalton Castle in 2015 in Ring of Honor. Two elements of either end of the masculinity spectrum, if there's such a thing, which just played off for a really, really good feud. So I like Silas Young's character. I'm going to be keeping him around. Again, there's going to be no rush in pushing these characters. I just have them a lot on the pre-show, on Explosion. Either winning matches against wrestlers at their level or losing to more popular wrestlers, maybe to get experience. But I just, again, don't see the rush in building them up as soon as possible. But at some point, I'm looking forward to bringing in Silas Young as the last real man character because I think his stuff is great. More Knockouts tag team action as the Beautiful People, that's the team of Madison Rayne and Lacey Von Erich, accompanied by a Velvet Sky, taking on Las Hermanas Apache. Now, hopefully I've got the Spanish pronunciation and translation correct. Las Hermanas Apache, which is Fabi Apache and Mary. I'm going to say Mary Apache. If there's anybody Spanish, please let me know how wrong I am. Las Hermanas Apaches translates to the Apache sisters. They are sisters in real life, Fabi and Mary. In a terrible pre-show match, the Beautiful People defeated Las Hermanas Apaches in 4:49 when Madison Rayne pinned Mary Apache with a makeover. In terms of in-ring work, Madison Rayne was head and shoulders above everyone else. Crowd heat at the end, expectant simmering. Wrestling rating 39, crowd rating 24, segment rating 32. Lacey Von Erich had an in-ring performance of 30, Madison Rayne had an in-ring performance of 50. Mari Apache 40 and Fabi Apache 35. Both Fabi and Mari debuted their luchador gimmicks, got an initial rating of adequate for Fabi and very good for Fabi. Okay. Commentary lifted the match, colour commentary gave the match a boost, Velvet Sky did some good work at ringside. Again, just to get some of the wrestlers who were not in action or maybe not in an angle involved in some kind of match, at least they're contributing something. The Beautiful People will play a little bit of a role in this particular episode as well, but I just thought it's a good idea to get them on the card. Also, because this is a second Knockouts tag team match, I always think tag teams are a good way to build up what will eventually lead to good superstars. So I remember one of the old games, was it TEW5, that always suggested, have two average singles wrestlers together as a tag team and they become really, really good. That was a good idea to build them up as well. And because we have a Knockouts tag team title champions, we have Knockouts tag team titles as well, it's just a good idea to get more Knockout tag team matches on the roster as well. There is another one there's actually two more to debut, but one is not on this particular show, one is, you'll find out later during the night. So yeah, Beautiful People win against Las Hermanas Apaches. Again, with the Apaches, they're not exactly old, but at the same time, they're certainly not younger compared to some of the roster, but again, I don't feel the need to rush. Their wrestling skills are decent as well. I'm just going to build them up over time. And who knows where it goes, but at least they're contributing something as well. And even if I'm not doing anything with them, whoever they're wrestling against might help their opponents in the process. And in the final match, before Impact gets underway, the Bravado brothers, that's Harlem and Lance, take on the team of Hernandez and Matt Morgan. So in the pre-show match that didn't have much heat and terrible wrestling, Hernandez and Morgan defeated the Bravado brothers in 5:38 when Matt Morgan pinned Lance Bravado with a carbon footprint. Expecting simmering crowd heat, 37 wrestling rating, crowd rating of 29, segment rating of 46 though. Lance Bravado, an in-ring performance of 17, Harlem was 14, Matt Morgan an in-ring performance of 55, Hernandez an in-ring performance of 62, wow. Harlem and Lance both debuting their cocky youth gimmicks, got an initial rating of adequate. Again, no rush for the Bravado brothers, I'll go to the moment. Harlem was really off his game, probably explains why he didn't get as good as Lance. Matt Morgan was really off his game, so again, Matt Morgan could have done better, but it's encouraging to know that he's capable of getting a better in-ring performance of 55. Commentary lifted the match, colour commentary gave the match a boost. Hernandez looked excellent out there. He did a 62 is really, really good. The Bravado brothers, you may possibly recognise the guy on the left. So those are the Bravado brothers, that's Harlem and Lance. Harlem, you may know in NXT as Andre Chase, the leader of Chase U. They were wrestling as the Bravado brothers, I believe, up until 2017, when I think Lance retired, and I think he went out to be a politician, if I remember rightly. Again, fair enough. Harlem has obviously gone on to say bigger and better things, maybe, as leader of Chase University in NXT. The Bravado brothers, I don't really know much about them on the indie scene. I do remember, again, being in Ring of Honor, where they were kind of debuting. It was like a very snobby, pretentious gimmick. I don't want to say jocks, they were very smartly dressed, like, prim and proper English people. I do remember they were in a angle segment where I think they were playing croquet or something, and it was to build up what would be a match on the Ring of Honor Best in the World pay-per-view in June 2011, and they only ended up making the pre-show, funnily enough, against the Young Bucks and lost. Just very pretentious, cocky youth up themselves, but I never really knew much more about them. Since then, I've not really seen much of them since, but again, this is 2010. The Bravado brothers are so young, they've got all the time in the world to mature. There's no rush to promote these. It's just a case of getting them on the card and getting many matches under the belt as possible, and then who knows. Again, I know I'm looking really far into this, way further than the 3-month demo. I don't know if that's foreshadowing on my part, maybe. Again, just absolutely no rush, I feel, to get these victories and getting them up the card straight away because they're so young. They've got all the time in the world. So that rounds up the pre-matches before we kick off Impact. So this match comes to a close, and now we get ready for the main show Impact as Hulk Hogan is about to make his debut in Total Non-Stop Action Wrestling. We're wasting no time as Hulk Hogan has finally made his debut in Total Non-Stop Action Wrestling. Hulk Hogan has arrived in TNA. He says he's very happy to be here and he's looking forward to seeing the superstars of Total Non-Stop Action in action. But he also says while this is indeed a new time, a new regime, and that change has finally arrived, he expects the TNA superstars to give it their all because you'll have to earn your opportunity under Hogan's regime. But AJ Styles interrupts. He comes down to the ring and tells Hulk Hogan that he is the phenomenal one. He is the TNA champion. And if there's anybody that personifies working hard and getting an opportunity and earning it, that's AJ Styles himself, because he is what TNA is all about. Hogan strokes his chin and admires AJ's cockiness. But then they're interrupted by Eric Bischoff. He makes his debut. He comes down to the ring. He admires the moxie of the champion, but he wants to put AJ Styles' words to the test. And in doing so, he asks Kurt Angle to come down to the ring and join the three in the ring. Bischoff and Hogan want to take TNA to that next level. So the TNA World title match between Styles and Angle won't be happening at Genesis, sadly. It won't even be happening tonight, because it'll be happening right now. Hulk Hogan and Eric Bischoff leave the ring, tell Styles and Angle to get ready, as the TNA World Championship is on the line in a few moments. So the crowd here at the end of this is hot and rising. I'm guessing that's encouraging. Segment rating of 79, very nice. So obviously I've done this in 4 parts, and this is how they've calculated. So part 1, which is Hulk Hogan saying that he's glad to be here in TNA, that gets us to 71. AJ Styles interrupting Hulk Hogan gets an 83. Bischoff interrupting Styles and Hogan asking Angle to come down gets 72. And the announcement that the TNA World title match will be happening right now instead gets a rating of 75. The TNA's new regime storyline has started with this segment. This is essentially Hulk Hogan and Eric Bischoff in a storyline. AJ Styles clearly enjoyed having the freedom to go off and script and perform well. Good. Hogan was superb with working without a script. Not surprising, he's Hulk Hogan. And then Bischoff, Hogan, and Bischoff again. I'm guessing this must be done in segments, but Bischoff and Hogan clearly have the segment having and the freedom to go off scripts, perform well. That's great stuff. This angle got the crowd hotter. This angle got the show off to a strong start. Great stuff. A good start to the Impact episode, the first episode. So TNA World title on the line right now. AJ Styles defending against Kurt Angle. Will we see a new world champion? I'm sorry to say we will not see a new world champion because we don't see a winner. So, in a battle that had fantastic heat and great wrestling, AJ Styles drew with Kurt Angle in 12:40 following a double disqualification. This match was designed so that wrestlers could go out and try to steal the show. The match also had a lot of interference. Christopher Daniels targeted Styles, Desmond Wolfe attacked Angle, and finally Tonko interfered against Styles. So, similar to the match that they had in the main event of this particular episode of Impact on January 4th, 2010 in real life, I imagine this to be that obviously Styles and Kurt Angle have gone all out. I have set this match to steal the show, as they absolutely would. Halfway during the match, like what happened in real life, Tomko interferes, tries to attack AJ Styles. At this point, you still don't know it's Tomko because he's playing a masked hooded figure. Sound familiar? When he attacks AJ Styles, the referee doesn't look. Angle comes in and prevents this masked figure from attacking Styles, throws him out of the ring. He loses his mask. It's revealed to be Tomko. He's the mystery figure that's been attacking Styles. Tomko goes off. Angle allows Styles to recuperate because he wants to win the match, but he wants to win the match fairly. And so the match resumes as it does. Styles and Angle continue to go at it, all out. It gets to the point where both come running towards each other and hit a clothesline, so both men are down and out for the count. The referee's counting towards 10 before one of them or both get back up. But when this happens, Christopher Daniels and Desmond Wolfe come down and attack AJ Styles and Kurt Angle, respectively. Going back to their feuds that I had the previous month at the Final Resolution pay-per-view in December 2009, Daniels challenged AJ Styles for TNA World title and lost. Kurt Angle had a tremendous 2 out of 3 falls. Was it the 3 Degrees of Pain match with Desmond Wolfe? A match that I think Desmond Wolfe should have won, or at least Desmond Wolfe should have won the match against Kurt Angle in the previous month at the Fantastic Turning Point pay-per-view in November 2009. But this is essentially wrapping up the feuds that have continued over the last month so that I can continue forward with this save. I'd said in the introduction episode that I would be just wrapping up these particular feuds in this episode. So, unfortunately, we don't have a new TNA World Champion. We don't even have a winner. I didn't know how on earth. I didn't know if there was any other way to call this. It was definitely going to be a draw. I'd say the referee throws it out rather than call it a double disqualification. But in essence, AJ Styles is still the champion, even though there's no clear-cut winner, because Christopher Daniels, Tomko, and Desmond Wolfe have completely ruined the match. Crowd heat at the end is hot. Wrestling rating of 77, crowd rating of 78, segment rating of 74. That's good. AJ Styles had an in-ring performance of 72, Kurt Angle an in-ring performance of 81. The Desmond Wolfe versus Kurt Angle storyline has advanced with this segment but lost heat. TNA World title AJ Styles versus Daniel storyline has advanced with this segment. These storylines are going to be ended anyway because I'm going to move forward with it after this match. Tomko foreshadowed a heel turn here during this segment. A little bit weird, I'll explain that in a moment. AJ Styles was really off his game. That's a shame, but at least we know that AJ Styles is capable of getting a better score than 72. This match got the crowd buzzing. I just thought it was a really good idea to start off as strong as possible. So you'll notice that in the bottom left-hand corner, the handle changes box is coloured in yellow. The reason being is that for some reason, Tomko is a face in this game. He shouldn't be, he should be a heel. So what I've done is turned him heel because that's what he should be. So I thought I might as well do that now whilst I can. So after the match, Daniels, Desmond Wolfe and Tomko continue to beat up on AJ Styles and Kurt Angle. Hogan's music plays and Hogan comes up and stands up on the stage. He's annoyed with Tomko, Daniels and Wolfe's actions, but he says that he expected that this could happen. Styles and Angle get up. Hogan tells them that they need to find another partner for tonight because we're going to have a 6-man tag team match. Styles, Angle and a mystery partner against Desmond Wolfe, Tomko and Christopher Daniels, and that will be tonight's main event. Sting is up in the rafters, seeing Hogan talk about this and looks on. Hogan's music plays again as he poses with the crowd. So crowd heat at the end is hot. Segment rating of 72, nice. I've been having issues where if I've done like a multi-part angle and then I've either gotten rid of a part and it's just one part, or if I don't know, it's happened with a couple of angles. I don't know if it's whether I'm doing it or if it's something to do with the fact that I'm playing the demo. But for some reason, this is just a one-part angle and it's still saying part 2. And sometimes when I've done this and I've jiggled it about, it's come to the point where the game's crashed as a result. So I don't know if that's me or the game. So ignore the part where it says part 2. This is just a one-part angle. Finalised rating of 71. Desmond Wolfe vs Kurt Angle, TNA World title AJ Styles vs Daniels, storylines have advanced. Hulk Hogan did a masterful job of improvising interaction with the crowd, as always. Desmond Wolfe and Christopher Daniels working the crowd well, good stuff. Angle was superb about a script, fantastic. Styles clearly enjoying having the freedom as well. 72 rating, that's good stuff. Christy Hemme interviews Team 3D. Although Brother Devon and Brother Ray are not in the fatal four-way tag team elimination match scheduled for later, with the winners going on to face the tag team champions at Genesis, there's nothing stopping the tag team champions tonight, the British Invasion, taking on Team 3D for the tag team titles. But whilst they're talking to Christy, they're ambushed by Rhino and Scott Steiner. They jump Team 3D from behind and attack them. As they're laying down, Rhino looks on, and Steiner tells Team 3D that they've had their chance at being World Tag Team Champions time and time again, but if they're so good, they'll take on Steiner and Rhino later tonight and prove to the Big Booty Daddy that they truly are the best tag team in the world. So crowd heat at the end of this was white hot. Segment rating of 63. Part 1 where Christy Hemme is interviewing Team 3D gets a 61. Part 2, which is Scott Steiner and Rhino jumping Team 3D, gets a 59. And Part 3, where Steiner makes a challenge for a tag team match, gets a rating of 62. Brother Devon did not do well without a script to follow. Okay. Scott Steiner struggled when going off script. Find that a little bit hard to believe. Steiner will say anything. It's good, even if it doesn't make any sense. This angle got the crowd hotter. Nice. Six-man ladder match for the TNA X Division title, as the Amazing Red defends against Kid Cash, Matt Bentley, Kiyoshi, Jay Lethal and Suicide. So in a bout that had a decent reaction from the crowd but subpar wrestling, the Amazing Red defeated Kid Cash, Matt Bentley, Kiyoshi, Jay Lethal and Suicide in 7:58, when the Amazing Red retrieved the item, i.e. the TNA X Division Championship. The match was designed to revolve around a lot of high spots. The Amazing Red makes defense number 1 of the TNA X Division title. So yeah, obviously this is a high spot match. We've got most of them are wrestlers, very good at aerial skills. I hired Kid Cash and Matt Bentley on a one night only deal, just to get more aerial minded wrestlers into this in this match. Might be an incentive for me perhaps to sign them up to pay-per appearance contracts. They've got good aerial skills, and I can just use them in matches which will get good scores and perhaps elevate younger talent maybe, so that might be an idea perhaps. Crowd heat at the end very hot, wrestling rating 49, crowd rating 37, segment rating 33. I will get onto that. There's a note at the bottom which will lead me to explaining why this didn't get such a good score. The Amazing Red had an in-ring performance of 65, great stuff. Kid Cash 45, Matt Bentley 41, Kiyoshi 36. Admittedly, he's not really an aerial-minded wrestler. Certainly not in this game, at least. Jay Lethal 54 and Suicide 57. Commentary quality lifted the match. The colour commentary gave the match a boost. The Amazing Red and Don West are a good pairing. They play off each other well. That's encouraging. The Amazing Red isn't really known for his talking skills, whether that's because he's just not good at talking when he's been given the mic, or whether maybe it's just because not being given the mic enough for him to talk. Whether he likes to talk on the mic, I don't actually know if that's the case. So having somebody like Don West, who's great on the microphone, I don't think should ever have really left the commentary team with Mike Tenay, because Don West was, during his face run with Mike, was good, but more so when he turned heel in during the summer of '09, Don West was absolutely fantastic. Should never really have left commentary, but he's also very good when it comes to promoting TNA as a brand, and everything to do with like advertising and merchandise. Don West just has the knack for it. He's so good. R.I.P. Don West, an absolute treasure in TNA. Definitely missed. The weird thing was when they paired him with the Amazing Red, I just thought it was a really odd combination. But at the same time, if you've got somebody like the Amazing Red who's not really known for his talking skills, and you have him as a manager with Don West who's absolutely known for his talking skills, I think that can play off really well. So it helps that the Amazing Red and Don West are a good pairing. They play off each other well. That's perhaps gives me more of an idea to promote the Amazing Red and have Don West speak on his behalf a lot more whilst he's a X Division champion. I'm still not sure how long I'm going to have the Amazing Red as champion, but if Don West is good on the mic and the Amazing Red is good at high flying, I should perhaps really consider having the Amazing Red have an amazing run as X Division champion. So the last bit you'll see here at the bottom is this type of match was an extremely poor choice for this audience. which I'm sure you'll be thinking to yourself if you're familiar with TNA this time, like I am, when I look at it and think, that's absurd. The idea that a ladder match in TNA in 2010, well, the idea of a ladder match in TNA at any point, being an extremely poor choice for this audience, is, like I say, is absurd. Because TNA was one thing that what separated TNA from everybody else at this time was their X Division title. Ideally, those wrestlers that we're starting to see a lot more aerial-minded wrestlers. I know some might think it's an issue today that it's been done too much and people going over the top. But certainly at this point, it was some were starting to come into their own. Hardy Boys in WWF, for instance, in the early 2000s. But now we're starting to see a lot more of this in the independent scene. And more so because Jeff Jarrett thought as TNA that if more wrestlers are going to be aerial minded, let's promote that as a division. And that's what made TNA so good during its going back to the Nashville Fairground days. So the X Division title mainly for high flying wrestlers, but the fact that there was no weight limits as well. So likes of AJ Styles, Loki and Jerry Lynn opening up the division, but even wrestlers who were big but could still wrestle well and aerial minded, like Samoa Joe for instance, just help separate the X Division from any other division, and that's what made TNA so special. So again, the idea that this type of match is an extremely poor choice just doesn't make sense to me. This is caused by our product, Classic Sports Entertainment, because the road agent had said to me before I booked the match, saying, this won't go down well if you book it. So I'm guessing because the product is Classic Sports Entertainment, we're in a sense booking a company as if it was the WWF from the golden era, mid-80s, late 80s, early 90s. Maybe the new generation. So the idea of a ladder match was just like, this is a little too much, which I completely disagree with, is not what TNA is about at all. So this is the next issue. What I want to book TNA as, if this was to be accepted as a type of match, I'm just trying to think of what kind of products I could change to. The only problem with this is that the products I want to use that I think would befit TNA would mean that we're talking at least 9 months to a year for these changes to be made. And of course the next question is, what kind of products would TNA be at this time? So I can only think of one really. You might think different. If you do, please let me know. So now that we're in 2010, WWE has left its Ruthless Aggression era and gone to PG-rated sports entertainment, so they can bring in a bigger fan base and more children to a family-friendly related product. And I think at this time TNA were the alternative, which means there were no boundaries. We're not going to be insulting to our fans. We'll cater to a more mature audience. So we're going to go out and do what we want. So I think, I don't know, in this sense, to me, TNA was perhaps now the Ruthless Aggression era period for them. So I don't know if maybe I could change to that perhaps. The only problem with this is it's going to take a year to change, and as a result, popularity growth is going to be limited. It's something I really need to do. So I could change from Classic Sports Entertainment to Ruthless Aggression, but it won't take a year. It will take a year, unfortunately, for this to be implemented, and I'm not going to get any popularity surges growth as a result. So, which means, I don't know, maybe I should stick with Classic Sports Entertainment, but again, it just means that I'm going to have to lay off ladder matches, which just seems bizarre. I might as well cancel doing a Destination X pay-per-view as well. Silly, but let me know your thoughts on that. Part of me likes the idea of having a 3-ring circus, which I see Ruthless Jobber doing a lot. And more often than not, when I'm watching his stuff as well, he's having the freedom to do what he wants exactly with whether it's his WCW save. Or others as well that he's used. So I do like the idea of a 3-ring circus, but again, I think is it 9 months for it to that change to be made. So again, let me know your thoughts on that. But yeah, we've got a bit of an issue there with when it comes to the X Division Championship, which just seems antithetical to what a Classic Sports Entertainment product is, unfortunately. But let me know your thoughts, and I'll have a think myself in the meantime. We'll see how it goes. So, after the match, Don West helps the Amazing Red back to his feet after retaining the X Division Championship, only for In King to sprint down the ring. That's the team of the Shannon Moore and Jesse Neal. Shannon Moore comes into the ring, grabs the TNA X Division Championship. Jesse Neal laughs at the fact that Shannon Moore's got the title. Both leave the ring, run back up. Don West and the Amazing Red are screaming, "Hey, come back, that's the Amazing Red's title." Whilst Jesse Neal and Shannon Moore stand on the stage and they laugh at the fact that they've got the X Division Championship. Crowd heat at the end, very hot. Segment rating of 33. Part 2, again, this was only just one part. Finalised rating of 33. The TNA X Division title, Red in the Face storyline has started with this segment. I think I'm going to build towards the Amazing Red versus Shannon Moore as the X Division title match at Genesis. Shannon Moore's aerial skills are pretty good as well. So I think that's what I'm going to build up to, essentially. Jesse Neal improvised well throughout the segment. The Amazing Red was very poor when trying to improvise dialogue, as was Shannon Moore. Don West did not do well without a script to follow, which I find that hard to believe. He's Don West. He's just absolutely good, but fair enough. I should say as well that obviously the handle changes his look again because for some reason Jesse Neal's a face in Ink Inc. Shannon Moore is a heel. So I'm deciding, well, which one do I want to turn face or turn heel in this sense? Because I can't have a heel. I mean, I suppose I could do a storyline there perhaps, but face-heel divides just don't really seem to do well. And I think I probably need more heels than faces. So in this sense, I'm going to turn Jesse Neal as a... I'm going to turn Jesse Neal as a heel. And in the same time, I'm changing his gimmick from a fan favourite to a badass. So a badass gimmick gives a small boost to microphone skill during angles as well, which is good. And the turn was a complete success. This is my second impromptu alignment change in this show, so I know I can't do any more without the crowd not reacting very well. And I'm also unsure as if I can do any more face heel turns without building them up, so I've got to be careful from now on. Backstage, Motor City Machine Guns, Alex Shelley and Chris Sabin are talking with Generation Me, Jeremy and Max Buck. They're talking about the upcoming 4-way elimination tag team match. So it will feature the Motor City Machine Guns, Generation Me, Raven and Dr. Stevie, and Beer Money. Max and Jeremy Buck and the Motor City Machine Guns are having a little bit of a playful conversation with each other. Don't know if frenemies is the right word, maybe, but just like competitive rivals, but they do get on with each other. Max and Jeremy Buck joking is to go far as to say that not only will they become the next number one contenders when they win tonight, but the fact that they'll eliminate Shelley and Sabin first. But they're interrupted by Raven and Dr. Stevie. Both are accompanied by Daphne. They enter the conversation. Dr. Stevie saying that him and Raven are going to be the next number one contenders. Crowd heat at the end very hot. Segment rating 38. The playful banter between Generation Me and Motor City Machine Guns gets a 40. Dr. Stevie and Raven interrupted only gets a 36. The Generation Motor City storyline has started with this segment, so I think I'm eventually going to build to a point where Generation Me will take on the Motor City Machine Guns at a pay-per-view. Again, I don't know if the payoff will be that it's going to be Generation Me turning on Motor City Machine Guns because they've had enough, or if it will just lead up to a friendly tag team match. I haven't decided that as of yet, but I think that's eventually what I'm going to build up to. It will be a Genesis. I think I'm going to do this for maybe the second or maybe the third month. I haven't quite decided yet, but that's what I'm going to build up towards. Part 1, Dr. Stevie and Daphne are an awkward pairing. They seem to throw each other's timing off. In that case, I think I'll just have Daphne accompany Raven. And again, I might do something perhaps with Raven against Dr. Stevie. We'll see. Jeremy Butt did not do well without script to follow. Okay, Alex Shelley clearly enjoyed having the freedom to go off script to perform well. Chris Sabin improvised well. Nice. Max Buck was very poor when trying to improvise dialogue, and Jeremy Buck was terrible. Not very much for going there for the Generation Me, but again, early days yet. They must be got early 20s, both of them, so there's absolutely no rush to push Generation Me at all. But 38, nothing special. Samoa Joe's backstage looking to the camera. He says that whilst TNA is looking forward to a new regime, Joe hasn't let go of the past just yet. His nation of violence isn't complete, but it will be soon. The crowd heat at the end very hot. Segment rating of 63, not too bad. Samoa Joe improvised well throughout the segment. One thing to mention, Samoa Joe does hold the Feast or Fired briefcase, which allows into a TNA World title shot. We will be building towards that. I don't know if I want to say what I'm going to do, but there is a plan going forward with Samoa Joe. So I don't think I'm going to say any more than that. But 63, yeah, not too bad, not too bad. So, 4-way tag team elimination match. Winners going on to face the British Invasion at Genesis. Raven and Stevie, Generation Me, Motor City Machine Guns, Beer Money. One thing to mention as well, during this match, Doug Williams and Magnus of British Invasion, they let Taz go so they can be on commentary with Mike Tenay for this match. So in a decent match, Beer Money defeated Generation Me, Motor City Machine Guns and Raven and Stevie in 9:36. The order of elimination was Generation Me first, ironic, then Raven and Stevie, and finally Motor City Machine Guns. The match was designed to tell a specific story. Crowd heat at the end very hot, wrestling rating 56, crowd rating 48, segment rating 58. Decent, not too bad. I like the idea that I can essentially book who gets eliminated by who in what order. The idea was to have Generation Me eliminating first. So I think with the team with the least experience within TNA at this point, I wanted to be eliminated first. Then Raven and Stevie, and then finally coming down to between, at this point, arguably the two best teams in TNA at this time, Motor City Machine Guns and Beer Money. No, Generation Me did not interfere to cost Motor City Machine Guns. Beer Money beat them clean, as the British Invasion are looking on. Dr. Stevie had an in-ring performance of 44 as did Raven. Max Buck had an in-ring performance of 60. Jeremy Buck 59. Sabin 52. Shelley 58. And then James Storm 64. Robert Roode 63. Wow. So Generation Me have performed better than the Motor City Machine Guns? Ooh, I may have to think of who I might want to win the match between Motor City Machine Guns and Generation Me in the build-up, so that's interesting though. Max Buck and Jeremy Buck getting very good in-ring performances, almost as good as Beer Money, who are the winners. TNA Tag Team titles, the British Invasion versus Beer Money storyline has advanced with this segment but lost heat. So yeah, it will be the British Invasion against Beer Money for the World Tag Team titles at Genesis. Generation Motor City storylines advanced with this segment and gained heat. Raven was off his game. Raven got a score of 44. Okay, so could have done a little better maybe. Alex Shelley and Chris Sabin got a tag team specialist bonus. Nice. On commentary, Doug Williams was pretty weak. Okay, he's just commentated, just there to enhance the storyline. Daphne did some good work at ringside. Dr. Stevie and Daphne, an awkward pairing. They just have no chemistry whatsoever. Yeah, I will get rid of Dr. Stevie and Daphne soon enough. Backstage, Christy Hemme is interviewing Christopher Daniels, Desmond Wolfe and Tonko. Daniels and Wolfe haven't forgotten about their respective feuds with AJ Styles and Kurt Angle and demand that they should be given a TNA World title shot if they can win the 6-man tag team match tonight. Tonko just nods whilst they're conducting the interview. Ric Flair then enters on camera. Sees Christy Hemme, obviously he's checking her out as you can imagine. Does a little dance with Christy, who smiles and obliges. And then Flair looks at the three interviewees. He's looking at Christopher Daniels, he looks at Tonko and smiles a little. But he looks at Desmond Wolfe, stares a little bit longer than the others, and then nods and smiles at Desmond before walking off and shouting, "Woo!" So crowd heat at this, very hot, segment rating 62. Again, it was just a one part, ignore part 2. Finals lives rated of 62. Desmond Wolfe versus Kurt Angle storylines advanced with this segment and lost heat. Same with the TNA World title match. Not really bothered because they're going to be ended tonight anyway. Christopher Daniels was superb without working a script. He had the crowd in the palm of his hand the entire time. Good stuff. Homicide comes down to the ring and says he shouldn't be forgotten about, and he'll prove it right now in a match if anyone wants to go one-on-one with him. Hulk Hogan interrupts on the TNA Tron and says Homicide's wish is Hogan's command. Music hits to reveal that Homicide's opponent is a returning Jeff Hardy. Jeff Hardy comes down to the ring, as Jeff Hardy vs Homicide will be next. Crowd heat at the end very hot, segment rating of 60. Again, just a single part, there's a finalised rating of 60. Homicide clearly enjoying having the freedom to go off script to perform well. And in a bout that had good heat and decent wrestling, Jeff Hardy defeated Homicide in 656 by pinfall with a swanton bomb. Crowd heat at the end very hot, wrestling rating of 61, crowd rating of 61, segment rating of 68, not too bad. Homicide in England performance of 51, Jeff Hardy in England performance of 71, decent. Jeff Hardy seemed off his game, so we know Jeff Hardy's capable of getting better scores, but that's decent, I'll take that. Crystal is backstage with Bobby Lashley. She argues that Bobby could be doing better, and that the reason why he's not booked in a match tonight is because it's his own fault. He's only got himself to blame for his actions. AJ Styles and Kurt Angle interrupt, and they ask Bobby Lashley if he would accept their offer to become their partner in a 6-man tag team main event match. But Crystal doesn't appreciate the fact that AJ Styles and Kurt Angle are not asking her on behalf of Bobby for Bobby to be in the match. She feels like she's been neglected as a result. But Bobby looks at AJ Styles and Kurt Angle and nods to the offer. Styles and Angle are happy that obviously Bobby will be teaming with them tonight, but Crystal scoffs at the idea that she's been completely ignored as a result. Ironically, despite the fact that she's complaining Bobby Lashley hasn't got a match tonight. Not only is he in a match, he's in the main event, but yet she still scoffs at the idea. Crowd heat at the end very hot, segment rating of 60. First part with Crystal arguing with Bobby got a 64. Part 2 only got a 56. TNA self-destruction of Bobby Lashley's story has advanced with this segment and gained heat. Not surprising because the story's so extremely cold at the moment, so the only way is up there. Crystal Lashley was very underwhelming. Bobby Lashley looked good. AJ Styles clearly enjoyed the freedom to go off script to perform well. Kurt Angle worked the crowd well, using the freedom to improvise. And then Crystal Lashley struggled when going off script, and then improvised well throughout. Crystal Lashley struggled when going off script, and then Crystal Lashley improvised well throughout the segment. Okay. Bobby Lashley clearly enjoyed having the freedom to go off script and perform well. Good stuff, Bobby. Hulk Hogan and Eric Bischoff are walking down the corridor when they're interrupted by the beautiful people. That's Velvet Sky, Lacey Von Erich, and Madison Rayne. Bischoff is taken in by the beauty of the beautiful people, mainly Lacey and Madison Rayne. They're being playful with him, just feeling his leather jacket he's wearing and touching his face. Whilst Velvet Sky, in the meantime, she's talking and flirting with Hulk Hogan, saying, "Hey, you want to know what TNA is all about? Look no further. We are TNA." And you know what you could really do for us, Hogan? You could give me, Velvet Sky, a TNA Knockouts title shot. You could include us in the match tonight against ODB and Tara. Hogan enjoys the flirting, of course, but still remains firm in his stance that everyone has to earn their opportunity in TNA. So she's not been given a title shot as a result. Velvet stamps her feet on the ground like a child as Hogan and Bischoff walk on. Crowd heat at the end very hot, segment rating of 60. Again, just the one part. Knockouts title, a beautiful mistake. Storyline has advanced with this segment and gained heat. That's in essence ODB and Tara, but with Velvet Sky thrown into the mix. I think I'm going to have a 3-way between them at Genesis. TNA's new regime storyline, which is Hogan and Bischoff. Lost heat. Velvet Sky, Hulk Hogan and Bischoff all clearly enjoying having the freedom to go off script and performing well. In about that good heat and decent wrestling, Team 3D defeats Scott Steiner and Rhino in 6:45 when Brother Ray pinned Scott Steiner with a 3D Dudley death drop. I just say 3D. Scott Steiner was a weak link, struggling to keep up with everyone else's in-ring performance. So, crowd heat at the end very hot, wrestling rating of 62, crowd rating of 60, segment rating of 59. Rhino and in-ring performance of 63, Scott Steiner only got a performance of 50. Brother Ray 70 and Brother Devon 65. Steiner was really off his game. Brother Devon and Brother Ray got a tag team specialist bonus. So Team 3D were obviously going to win. I'm still not going to include them in the tag team title match at Genesis. there will be plans for them going forward in the upcoming weeks. Christy interviews Tara backstage. Tara is the Knockouts champion and she'll be looking forward to defending her title in the presence of Hogan and Bischoff. She'll be taking on ODB in a few moments. But ODB quickly interrupts the interview to say that she badly wants to hold the Knockouts title again. Pretty much as badly as Hulk Hogan and Eric Bischoff would love to hold a pair of these. BAM! ODB walks off as Christy and Tara pretty much corpsing, whether both in storyline as well as in real life. ODB is just hilarious. And obviously when I'm talking about Hogan and Bischoff wanting to hold a pair of these, ODB is obviously making reference to you know what. I'll let you work that out. Crowd heat at the end, very hot. Segment rating 49. TNA Knockouts title, a beautiful mistake. Storyline has advanced. Tara and ODB clearly enjoying having the freedom to go off script to perform well. Nice. Shannon Moore and Jesse Neal talk about their stolen possession, the TNA X Division title. They're both looking at it. Shannon Moore's holding it. The Jesse Neal's like, hey, let me hold the belt. And Shannon's like, no, I'm holding it. No, let me hold it. No, let me hold it. Whilst they're arguing with each other, you can hear a scream of, hey, from the back, as the Amazing Red and Don West are trying to catch up to Shannon and Jesse. They're now in the parking lot, and they jump into the rental car, leaving with the Amazing Red's X Division title. Crowd heat at the end, very hot, segment rating of 34. TNA X title when the face storyline has advanced. Shannon Moore did not do well without script, neither Jesse Neal struggled. Don West clearly enjoyed having the freedom, that's better. The Amazing Red was terrible without a script, that's probably why Don West is his manager at 34. TNA Knockouts title on the line as Tara defends against ODB. So in a decent match, ODB defeated Tara in 5:44 by pinfall after distraction from Velvet Sky. And during the match we also saw Lacey Von Erich and Madison Rayne both distract ODB. But with a new Knockouts champion in ODB. Crowd heat at the end, very hot. Wrestling rating 55, crowd rating 49, segment rating 53. So Velvet Sky's upset that she's not been included in a title match. She's obviously hatched a plan with Lacey and Madison. Lacey and Madison are distracting ODB from one side of the ring. On the other side of the ring, Velvet distracts Tara. Lacey and Madison have stopped distracting ODB. ODB sees that Tara is looking the other way, but she doesn't see that Velvet is distracting Tara, or does she? I'm probably going to say no, she hasn't. She's just seen Tara with her back to her, presented an opportunity. She goes up for the, rolls Tara up for a schoolgirl, if you want to call it. Schoolgirl pin, and it's gone the 3 count. So we've got a new TNA Knockouts champion. Tara in performance of 60, nice. ODB 51. The TNA Knockouts title, a beautiful mistake. Storyline has advanced with this segment and gained heat. Tara and ODB have pretty good chemistry and they lifted the match. I think I'm still going to stick with the 3-way match at Genesis. What I may do is, well, depending on who wins the match, but if I don't decide on Velvet winning a match, at one point I might come and revisit a rematch between Tara and ODB. Mike Tenay and Taz are an awkward pairing together on commentary. Oh dear. I wonder why that's only shown up now on this particular segment and not on previous segments. Because if that's the case, does that mean that, obviously I imagine it's probably lowered the segment rating by a couple of points. Has it done that for every single match and segment rating on this particular episode? Because if it has, and I imagine it has, I'm going to need to rethink the commentary team. So whatever the final show rating of this will be, it could have been better had it not been a commentary team of Mike Tenay and Taz. So I'm going to have to think on what I want to do there with the commentary team. Oh dear. Awkward pairing together in commentary, but still, commentary quality lifted the match. Colour commentary gave the match a boost. Having said that, segment rating of 53, I don't think it's too bad a score. Backstage, Christy Hemme is interviewing Kevin Nash, who's excited that Eric Bischoff and Hulk Hogan are now in TNA, and he's looking forward to catching up with Eric Bischoff and Hulk Hogan when he can. But he's also looking forward to catching up with a few more of his friends. I'm not going to say any more at this point. Crowd heat very hot, segment rating 50? Okay, figure is expected a bit better there. No specific comments have been made about this particular segment. Jeff Jarrett comes down to the ring and says that he wants the best for TNA going forward. But he also says never to forget who founded TNA and who brought TNA to the level that it's at now. Jeff Jarrett is the founder of TNA in June 2002. And now that we've seen a new regime in Hulk Hogan, he hasn't forgotten about what's happened between him and Hogan in the past, but he still wants, at the same time, he's trying to reconcile the idea that hopefully Hogan is here for the right reasons. He hasn't forgotten his last few run-ins with Hulk Hogan. I imagine Jeff Jarrett obviously references the Bash of the Beach incident in July 2000, where Jarrett essentially lays down for Hulk Hogan so Hogan can win the WCW title. I imagine he'll also mention, was it December 2003 when Hulk Hogan's in Japan and Jeff Jarrett comes in and smashes the guitar over Hogan's head, and the famous quote, Hogan didn't come to TNA, Jeff Jarrett took TNA to Hulk Hogan. But Jarrett's interrupted by Eric Bischoff on the TNA Tron, and he tells Double J that he hasn't forgotten about what Jeff Jarrett has done in the past, and that it'll be Jarrett that'll have to play by the new rules in Hogan's regime like everyone else, such as wrestling in a match right now, because Double J's opponent is Samoa Joe. Crowd heat at the end very hot, segment rating of 59, I don't know if I was expecting better maybe. Jeff Jarrett's promo got a 58, Bischoff's interruption and promo got a 55. Performance of Eric Bischoff was good. Jeff Jarrett clearly enjoyed having the freedom to go off script to perform well. Eric Bischoff improvised well. In a bout that had great heat and good wrestling, Samoa Joe defeated Jeff Jarrett in 6:54 by submission with a Coquina clutch after blatantly cheating. So at this point, Samoa Joe's got his Nation of Violence gimmick. He's still a heel, even though the main event Mafia have now split up. But he's back to being Nation of Violence, a Nation of One. So I imagine he's doing anything to get a victory. He just doesn't care about the rules or whatever. Perhaps taking off the turnbuckle pad. In fact, I imagine at the end when he's done something dastardly and the referee's distracted, Samoa Joe hits a low blow on Jeff Jarrett, and then obviously hits a submission, Coquina clutch, to get the victory. Crowd heat at the end very hot. Wrestling rating 68, crowd rating 66, segment rating 59. Jeff Jarrett an in-ring performance of 62, Samoa Joe an in-ring performance of 73. I'm really unsure as to why this didn't get a better segment rating than it did do. I'd really like to be getting segment ratings above 62 and above, because that's ideally what we want the show to end on, above 62 to improve the popularity. The TNA's new regime storylines advanced with this segment but lost heat. So I've had Eric Bischoff and Hulk Hogan, they're taking an interest, so they're watching this behind the scenes on a monitor. Mike Tenay and Taz were an awkward pairing together in commentary. Maybe that's the reason why segment rating has only got a 59. Yeah, I was kind of hoping for a little bit better, but at least I know that there's one reason why that's taken place. So, yeah, I really need to think about the commentary team there for the future. Hulk Hogan is about being interviewed by Jeremy Borash. Hogan talks about how he's excited to be in TNA as the both are walking as the interview is being conducted. And he's meeting some of the superstars of TNA, like shaking hands with Abyss, Consequences Creed, Matt Morgan, Hernandez and SoCal Val. Mick Foley interrupts and tells Hulk Hogan that this might be Hulk Hogan's world now, but it'd be a better world for the younger superstars to thrive and not Hogan's buddies. They're interrupted by Sting, who simply just comes in and stares at Hulk Hogan and doesn't say anything. Hogan walks off as Sting continues to stare at the Immortal One. So crowd heat at the end very hot, segment rating of 63. First part with Hogan interview with JB and shaking hands with the superstars only got a 44. Foley's promo interruption on Hogan got a 73. And then Sting staring at Hulk Hogan with Foley watching gets an 80. Foley looked good, performance of Sting was good, Hogan came across well, Mick Foley improvised well. Hulk Hogan struggled when going off script, again, find that hard to believe. So again, one of the new features that I like here is that you will see there are 9 highlighted wrestlers in this particular angle overall. I think I talked about this on it was either the last episode of Invasion or maybe the episode before, where I struggled to get all members of the Radicals in an angle with Shane McMahon, whilst William Regal, Kurt Angle, Big Show and Haku were watching on from stage. So Radical, Shane, and the 4 on stage meant 9 superstars, and you can only have 8 on the TEW 2020 save. So I think Dean Malenko as a manager to Perry Saturn, Eddie Guerrero, and Chris Benoit. So even though there was 8 superstars, there was 3 of those superstars had a manager, which kind of made it 9 in a way. I don't have to worry about that in this game as well. There are 9 superstars. If I was to do this particular angle on the Invasion mod in TW9, I could quite clearly have Shane telling the Radicals, Malenko, Guerrero, Saturn, and Benoit, and then Kurt Angle, Regal, Big Show, and Haku watching up on stage, and that won't be an issue at all. So that's one thing I do like about this game, as well as the multi-part angles, which I still need to get used to. There is no limit on how many superstars and talent I can have in parts and the overall segment, which is great. 63, no, you're not too bad, not too bad. Christy Hemmy's interviewing Beer Money. They're happy with winning tonight's match, which means that they will go to Genesis to face British Invasion for the tag team titles, but they'll be happier tonight after spending cash and drinking beer, and they'll be happiest when they defeat Williams and Magnus for the titles in 4 weeks. But their interview is cut short when Doug Williams, Magnus and Rob Terry attack Beer Money from behind. Crowd heat very hot, segment rating only 49 sadly. Beer Money interview got a 59, the British Invasion ambush only got a 39 sadly. TNA tag titles, British Invasion versus Beer Money storyline has advanced with this segment but lost heat sadly. Rob Terry was very underwhelming. 49, yeah, I was kind of hoping for a little bit better maybe. So in the penultimate match of the night, Taylor Wilde and Sarita take on Team Shirai. That's Io Shirai and Mio Shirai. In a bout that had subpar wrestling and little heat, Wilde and Sarita defeat Team Shirai in 5:29 when Sarita pinned Mio Shirai with a flying crossbody. Wilde and Sarita make defence number 1 of the TNA Knockouts tag team titles. Crowd heat at the end very hot, wrestling rating 43, crowd rating 22, segment rating 37. Sarita an in-ring performance of 45, Taylor Wilde 46. Mio and Io both getting 41, so very good in-ring wrestlers, and both Mio and Io getting debuting their Joshi gimmicks. I believe Josh is does it just translate from Japanese to woman? That's essentially what they are, Japanese women's wrestlers in this. I'm not going to do much with them at the moment. Both got an initial rating of great for their gimmicks though, which is good. Commentary quality lifting the match, colour commentary gave the match a boost. So again, this is essentially just a face versus face tag team match, just to get something off the crowd and cool the crowd before we lead to the main event. There's a couple of angles in between before the match happens though. But yeah, you will recognise Io Shirai, who is Io Sky in WWE. Mio Shirai is her sister, a couple of years older. I think they were a tag team at this point in Japan, but I think Mio retired just a couple of years later. I think it was due to an injury. A little bit of trivia as well. They were in a stable with another wrestler called Kana, who again you may have recognised the name because she is Asuka in WWE. The 3 were in a stable known as Triple Tails, if I remember rightly. Kana is available if I wanted to sign her, perhaps. I've not. I may do if people are interested. But Team Shirai, Io and Mio were sisters and faces at this moment in time. Again, just to get more knockouts, women on the card, just to get some experience under them. But again, no rush in building up Io and Mio. Io, I think, is only 19 or 20 years old at this point. So there's absolutely no rush at all. But even getting a in-ring performance of 41 at 20 years old, there's all the time in the world for it to be absolutely fantastic. So again, it was just a throwaway match really at this moment in time. I just wanted to get Team Shirai in a match, and at least Wilde and Sarita have made a defence of their tag team titles. I'm not sure if I'm going to have Wilde and Sarita defend their tag titles at Genesis. There's so many matches I could think of booking, so it might have to be a pre-show match for them. Apologies to Taylor and Sarita. But that is the last match before we go into the main event. But just a couple of more angles before we get there. Jeremy Borash interviews Eric Young backstage. The television champion is happy to be here and looking forward to showing what he can do in the ring under a new regime. But then Ric Flair interrupts the interview to tell Eric Young that it's one thing to be a television champion, but it's a whole other thing to be the television champion under the management of the Nature Boy. Woo! Crowd heat at the end very hot. Segment rating 51. Eric Young's interview got a 53. Ric Flair's interruption only got a 50. Ric Flair and Eric Young clearly enjoying having the freedom to go off script to perform well. I might be thinking of reverting Eric Young to being back into a role where he's somewhere in between the... I'm just trying to think of the best way to describe it. The more lovable Eric Young, somewhat leading to his not doing the stuff that he did with Orlando Jordan, which Eric Young as a comedian is absolutely fantastic. But more so just his very happy-go-lucky, somewhere in the lines of Don't Fire Eric gimmick. I think I'm perhaps going to move him away from the... I know it's a little bit of a drastic change considering that he was just world elite. I thought he was really good at that role as a heel as well. But I think I'm possibly going to have him come back to being a bit more of a comedian, so to speak, but somebody who's just always looks on the bright side of life. You might think to yourself, well, if that's the case, you've got Ric Flair there as... Ric Flair is a heel manager in this. You'll have to wait and see with what I plan to do going forward. So in the final segment before the main event, Christy Hemmy's interviewing Hulk Hogan. Hogan tells Christy that there's so much going on in TNA that he's ready to explode to a whole other level, brother. But Hogan is interrupted by Samoa Joe, who tells Hogan that Hulk Hogan wished for change and that Hogan may have got what he wanted, but that he should be careful what he wishes for. But then Samoa Joe is interrupted by D'Angelo De Niro, who tells Joey Samoa that maybe Samoa Joe should be careful what he wishes for. Hogan looks at Joe and then looks at De Niro and thinks, oh, this will be a great contest, brother. Yeah, let's have it. Samoa Joe versus D'Angelo De Niro at Genesis, dude. Crowd heat at the end, very hot. Segment rating is 74, wow. Hemmy's Christy Hemmy's interview with Hulk Hogan got a 78. Nice. Samoa Joe's interruption and D'Angelo De Niro's interruption gets a 62. The Preaching Nation storyline has started with this segment. So yeah, that's in essence Samoa Joe versus D'Angelo De Niro, one-on-one at Genesis. D'Angelo De Niro and Christy Hemme were very underwhelming. Hulk Hogan improvised well. Hulk Hogan did a masterful job. D'Angelo De Niro clearly enjoyed having the freedom to go off script despite being underwhelming. Yeah, fair enough. But a 74 segment rating, very happy with that. So, the 6-man tag team main event. Tom Cole, Desmond Wolfe and Christopher Daniels taking on Bobby Lashley, Kurt Angle and AJ Styles. And as you can imagine, about that great heat and good wrestling, Bobby Lashley, Kurt Angle and AJ Styles defeat Tom Cole, Desmond Wolfe and Christopher Daniels in 8:45 when AJ Styles pinned Tom Cole with a springboard 450 splash. In terms of in-ring work, Kurt Angle was head and shoulders above everyone else. Tom Cole was a weakling, struggling to keep up with everyone else's in-ring performance. Crowd heat at the end very hot. Wrestling rating of 68, okay. Crowd rating 64. Segment rating of 70, okay, not too bad. Oh dear. Christopher Daniels sustained a blown eardrum. Hopefully, if that's what I'm thinking, it's not bad. It means he'll still be able to perform. He'll be out for a week with the injury, or maybe 2 weeks perhaps. But essentially, he'll still be able to perform. It won't be... He'll still be able to perform. It won't be as good a wrestling match if he's involved during an injury, but hopefully, I don't think it's an injury that will last longer than a week or maybe 2. Christopher Daniels had an in-ring performance of 69. Nice. Desmond Wolfe had an in-ring performance of 60. Tom Cole had an in-ring performance of 48. AJ Styles had an in-ring performance of 83. Kurt Angle had an in-ring performance of 92. Incredible. I think he's actually done better in this particular match than I think he's ever done in any of my Invasion matches. But well done, Kurt Angle. Bobby Lashley in a performance of 58. I kind of expected a little bit better from Bobby Lashley there. Desmond versus Kurt Angle storylines advanced with this segment. TNA World Title AJ Styles versus Daniel storylines advanced with this segment. But as you can see, Desmond Wolfe and AJ Styles storylines are both ended with this particular segment as a result. TNA's new regime storyline has advanced with this segment and gained heat, which is good. So Bischoff and Hogan again shown backstage watching this particular match because they're interested in what goes on. Excuse me. Tonko seemed off his game. Okay, Bobby Lashley and Crystal Lashley have absolutely zero chemistry together. So, again, just like the Terry and Perry Saturn situation from Invasion, I separated them immediately because Perry was a face, Terry was a heel, and they didn't have good chemistry. It's essentially the same thing that's happening here. Lashley with no... Lashley's a face, Crystal's a heel, and they have no chemistry whatsoever. So I think I'm probably going to build towards a match where probably at some point Crystal Lashley's going to turn heel on Bobby. Kurt Angle looked excellent out there. He absolutely did. So in the final segment, Hulk Hogan's music plays after the match, and with Hogan and Bischoff clapping that AJ Styles and Kurt Angle have won, and it's just Styles and Angle who are now standing in the ring. Hulk Hogan tells TNA fans that he's disappointed that we didn't get to see a winner tonight in the TNA World title match at the beginning of the night, but there will be a winner in 4 weeks' time, as AJ Styles will once again defend the TNA World Championship against Kurt Angle at Genesis, and to make sure there are no interruptions in this match, anybody that does decide to interfere will be fired. So we're going to get the match that was promised at Genesis originally, and there won't be any interruptions this time. There will be a winner. AJ Styles defends the TNA World title against Kurt Angle. Angle is excited with the announcement. Styles nods politely. AJ Styles holds his TNA World title in the air while seeing Kurt Angle stare at each other to close the show. So I put Styles nods politely here because he's, as much as he's happy that he's going to be able to defend his title against Angle and hopefully beat him, he still has his reservations about Hulk Hogan and Eric Bischoff being in TNA. Crowd heat at the end very hot. Segment rating 81, nice. Hogan making the announcement got an 80. The stare down between AJ Styles and Kurt Angle got an 81. Wow. TNA's new regime storyline has advanced for this segment and gained heat. I have wanted to include something here and I forgot to do it. So the Styles versus Daniels and Desmond Wolfe versus Kurt Angle storylines have now ended. They don't get deleted off the storylines until the show is actually finished. What I was actually going to do here was, before this segment took place, so I'm going to do this after the match had finished, was go into the return booking screen, go to the storylines, manually end the Styles versus Daniels and Angle versus Wolfe storylines, and then added myself Styles versus Angle leading up to Genesis. So at least this angle and this particular segment rating would be included in that as a result, and I forgot to do that. So yeah, it's a shame, and it was a decent rating as well, but no worries. I'll just have to add it in after this particular show has ended. But that is essentially what we're building up towards now. AJ Styles versus Kurt Angle at Genesis. Styles improvised well throughout the segment. Kurt Angle worked the crowd well, using the freedom to improvise to his advantage. Hulk Hogan was superb without working a script. Good stuff, good stuff. So, what is our final rating for the first episode of Impact? 65. Decent. So, we've got above what we need to be getting, ideally. So, we've got above 62, which is good. Whether 65 is enough to increase the popularity in that region, I don't know yet. We'll find out in a moment. But I think I'm satisfied with this particular first show. Show has increased our popularity in 24 regions. I've got to look at the pros and cons of this. And to be honest, I kind of want there to be cons, because if I know that I can improve, that's good. In the sense that some pros can be considered cons and vice versa. So for instance, a pro would be, it's helped me getting a good 65 rate with the help that we've got an excellent locker room morale backstage. But that means I can't improve on that anymore, which means in that sense I will be able to get a few more show points if I was to help with the locker room morale. One benefit will be that there's a lot of changes that need to be made. For instance, Lashley and Crystal don't work well together. When I get rid of them, they will hopefully help each particular segment that they're involved in. They will get better ratings as long as them two are not together. And the commentary situation as well that I need to think about as well. I kind of need to think of a storyline of how I can get rid of Mike Tenay or Taz. I'm probably going to get rid of Taz more than Mike Tenay. I think the Professor Mike Tenay is just absolutely fantastic as a commentator. Taz, I don't mind Taz. He's okay. He can be comedic in parts as well, and sometimes when he has to be a real heel, more so during his stuff with who was the stable in 2030? Aces and Eights. It'd be an annoying POS. I think he can do that quite well. When he's kind of in this particular stage in the moment, I'm a bit like, he's okay. I've got to admit, I did prefer Mike Tenay and Don West admittedly, but at the same time I still like the idea of having Don West as a manager for the Amazing Red. So I might have to look at bringing in another commentator perhaps and seeing if their relationship and chemistry works. So if I can get a different commentary team, that will hopefully mean that the show rate should go up maybe a couple of points, because I've got Mike Tenay and somebody else who hopefully don't have bad chemistry, which means each particular segment should get a couple of points bonus as a result. Those are the main things that I can think of at this moment in time. So 65, satisfactory, and again, it's always hard to get. I think always the hardest score to get is your first ever show. Is you just finding your footing, building new storylines, and seeing how wrestlers are at this moment in time. So, encouraging start, I think. So, post-show stuff, injury review. Christopher Daniels, blown eardrum, can be worked through. He's off for 7 days. That's good. In fact, because this was a 3-hour show as well, and I was just going to do this as a one-off for a Monday, I'm probably going to have Impact go back to Thursday, so the next show will be next Thursday, the 14th of January. So in essence, I don't really have anything to worry about. Christopher Daniels will be back from his injury as a result. Financial report. Okay, so we've made an overall profit of $171. I'm guessing that's... I don't really know. We'll have to wait and see how time goes on. Obviously, I'm only the 4th day into this particular game, and already I'm a 120,000 loss. I think it's to do with, obviously, the workers who are on exclusive contracts, the very established popular workers like Hogan, Bischoff, as well. So we really need to be hoping that our popularity has somehow increased, if not by at least a couple of decimal places. So the next part, popularity recap. Right, so I do know that anything that's highlighted in yellow means that the popularity has increased. Obviously, if it was to go to another point, like if I got Great Lakes popularity up, it would to 44, it would say 43 with an arrow pointing to 44. But I do believe that those that are highlighted in yellow means that popularity has gone up, but by just a decimal points, 0.1, hopefully 0.2 maybe. Although looking at those that are highlighted, one place that's not highlighted sadly is the southeast. I'm still on 62 and it's not moved up at all, so a bit of concern there. Really, I need to be getting obviously better scores than 62, but even better scores than this opening show, which is 65. So hopefully now that this was just a one-off 3-hour show on a Monday, if I go back to doing it in the southeast next Thursday for a 2-hour show, might be able to get a little bit better ratings perhaps. But I've got to be gunning for a higher rating than 62. I need to get that popularity up there. Each popularity will mean more fans coming in, which will mean more money being sold, and obviously when it comes to the pay-per-view, more pay-per-view buys. But yeah, essentially I think what I'm going to have to do is stay in the southeast, and I might consider doing the next episode at the Impact Zone. But I think what I'm going to do when it comes to the pay-per-view, I'm going to build up to, again, doing the southeast area but at a bigger venue, because we really need that money. And no media scrum, I can't do that. That's only a pay-per-view thing, and I think you can only do it at the company level of big. I think we'll find out anyway. But TNA is a medium-sized company as well, so there's no medium scrums. We'll wait and see if there is at the pay-per-view. But if not, no worries. So yeah, this is the end of the first episode of TNA. So again, it's amazing without using visuals or whatever. I still managed to waffle a hell of a lot. I dread to think how long this video is going to be. I said I wanted to be more forthcoming. I kind of want to give an idea of what I'm doing for each particular segment. Again, this may seem too long, so I don't know. I might consider cutting out the pre-show parts, maybe. Just let me know what you think if this is indeed too long. I will try and put chapters into this as well, so hopefully, if you just wanted to skip to parts, at least you know what you wanted to look out for. But yeah, this is essentially the first episode of iMPACT. So I'll try and get the next episode out as soon as I can. I'm still struggling at the moment to advance the latest episode of the Invasion storyline. Still working on SmackDown as we speak. I'll keep you informed as to when I get that done. So yeah, that I think covers everything for this episode. Actually, no, it doesn't. One thing I was going to mention as well was I've just stumbled across. Shout out again to Dave Mack Wrestling, who's posted up a video on how the new angle system is explained. So he's done like a TEW9 how to play or how you should book angles in this particular mod. I think it's a really great idea. Just mostly because he's done it from using a WWE modern day perspective as well. I'm still coming to grips with how I'm using it, but Dave Mack has kind of done an example of how what each particular angle segment means as well. It's a good watch. Anybody like me who's still kind of unfamiliar with the new setup and how it works, I highly recommend giving Dave Mack's video a watch. It's good stuff. Shout out to Dave Mack again. Right, that is definitely it. I'll stop waffling. Thank you as ever so much for watching.